can you commit right here and now that Trump's Fed nominee, Kevin Warsh, will not be sued, will not be investigated by the Department of Justice if he doesn't cut interest rates exactly the way that Donald Trump wants?
That is up to the president.
Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts did not come into this hearing waving a headline. She came in with a timeline. For a year, Donald Trump promised Americans that costs would come down on day one. 1 year later, Warren had the quotes, the numbers, and the agencies on the record. She asked Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent a simple question. Did grocery prices actually drop in 2025? But this exchange did not stay inside the grocery aisle. Warren moved from food prices to the Federal Reserve, from family budgets to presidential pressure, from campaign promises to whether Trump's own Fed nominee could be sued or investigated if he refused to cut interest rates the way Trump wanted. And then Bessent gave the answer that changed the room.
So, Secretary Bessent, you are one of the president's top economic advisors. Let's just start with a little truth-telling about the Trump economy 1 year in. Affordability is the top concern for Americans across the country. Donald Trump has called affordability, I want to get this right, a hoax. He's called it a scam. He's called it a con job. You're the Secretary of Treasury. You know the numbers. Is affordability a hoax, a scam, or a con job?
Senator, it may be a bit nuanced for you, but what President Trump is referring to is the media saying that the affordability crisis was generated by this administration when it was you and President Biden who destroyed the buying power of the American people. So there is an affordability crisis, and you were front and center in it.
So let me make sure that I understand. Donald Trump is not saying that affordability, what's happening to families right now, is a hoax?
He is saying that trying to lay the blame at this administration rather than the Biden-Warren economy is a hoax.
Okay, so it all happened before he got it. And everything that's happened since then, nothing is a hoax here.
21.5% cumulative inflation.
Let me just ask about what's happened in the 1 year that Donald Trump has been president. Last week, President Trump said, quote, "We have the groceries going down." Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous prices have.
Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous grocery prices have gone down.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you can't hear me. Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous grocery prices have gone down.
Some of them.
And in fact, we have seen inflation at 2.1% for the past 3 months.
Have you seen the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that is Donald Trump's own Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers, that report that grocery prices were 2.4% higher at the end of 2025 than they were at the end of 2024. Trump's own Department of Agriculture has projected that those prices would climb higher in 2026. And under Donald Trump, families are paying more and more for groceries. So if you're just going to insult people by denying the facts that are out there and tell people they're doing great when they're struggling, I think that's just another way to say you don't have a plan to bring down these prices. You're not willing to admit the failures of the Trump administration.
Senator.
I will ask you a question in just a sec here. It's not just groceries. The numbers from Trump's own economic agency show that Americans are paying more for utility bills, more for health care, more for housing construction. Families aren't fooled by these lies. Mr. Secretary, you owe it to American families to own up what's going on. And Secretary Bessent, I have one more question for you while I have you here. You ran the search for Donald Trump's Fed chair nominee. And Trump promised, quote, "Anyone that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman." Kevin Warsh got the nod last Friday. And then over the weekend, Donald Trump joked that he would sue Mr. Warsh if he failed to lower interest rates. At least I think it was a joke. But just in case, this should be an easy one, Mr. Secretary. Can you commit right here and now that Trump's Fed nominee, Kevin Warsh, will not be sued, will not be investigated by the Department of Justice if he doesn't cut interest rates exactly the way that Donald Trump wants?
That is up to the president. Can you commit that you will?
I'm sorry.
Can you commit that you will not hold
he
hold
won't
up?
be sued if he doesn't drop interest rates?
Can you?
And he won't be criminally investigated?
The
That was
president also
supposed
made
to
a
be
big
the
joke about you that I
softball.
won't repeat, Senator Warren.
That was the
Oh, actually, I
easy
will.
one.
He said he had
You know,
reservations.
if this was a
But
joke,
the-
why not just say so?
It was a
can't
joke,
commit-
and he made a joke about you too, Senator Warren.
Yes,
got
he
got a
did.
lot of laughs. Got a
Yeah.
lot of laughs.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to respond
You know,
to that.
I do want to
What I
respond.
can
I don't
tell you
think
too
the American
is
people
Mr.
are
Warsh
laughing.
is highly qualified.
They're the ones who are
and
struggling
why
with
don't you
affordability.
Why don't you tell the nation what you told me, that you held up Chair Powell's
Secretary,
renomination?
We're going to move on to the next.
For a year, Donald Trump told Americans that costs would come down immediately. That was the promise. Lower prices, lower grocery bills, relief on day one. But 1 year into the administration, Warren put a different record in front of Scott Bessent. She brought the timeline. She brought Trump's own words. She brought the Bureau of Labor Statistics. She brought the Department of Agriculture. And according to Warren, the official numbers showed grocery prices were 2.4% higher at the end of 2025 than they were at the end of 2024. That matters because families do not pay for talking points. They pay rent. They pay utility bills. They pay health insurance. They stand in the grocery aisle and decide what goes back on the shelf. So Warren asked the measurable question, did grocery prices drop in 2025? Bessent's answer did not close the record. It moved around it. He said numerous grocery prices had gone down, but that was not the question. Some items can go down, while the overall basket still costs more. A few cheaper products do not erase the full receipt. Lower inflation is not the same thing as lower prices, and a family looking at a higher bill does not experience a statistical defense as relief. That was the first pattern. Then, Warren moved to something even bigger than groceries. She moved to the Federal Reserve. The Fed is supposed to make interest rate decisions without political punishment from the White House. Those decisions affect mortgages, credit cards, car loans, small business debt, and the cost of borrowing across the country. So Warren asked a simple institutional question. If Kevin Warsh, Trump's Fed nominee, did not cut rates exactly the way Trump wanted, could Bessent commit that Warsh would not be sued or investigated by the Department of Justice? That should have been the easiest answer in the room. No, the Justice Department should not be used as a weapon against monetary policy. No, a Fed chair should not face investigation for refusing a political demand. But that is not the sworn testimony Warren received. The answer was, that is up to the president. That sentence is why this exchange matters. Because in a government built on guardrails, some powers are not supposed to depend on one man's irritation, not prosecution, not central bank independence, not whether a public official gets investigated because he refuses to deliver the interest rate a president wants. Bessent later said it was a joke. He talked about laughter. He tried to turn the exchange back on Warren, but the cleanup came after the answer. And in a hearing, the order matters. The timeline matters. The permanent record matters. This was not just a debate about prices. It was a test of accountability. Will officials admit what families are paying? Will they answer the question asked? And will institutions remain independent when political pressure comes from the top? Warren did not need a confession. She put the pattern on the record.